Brown it.
What's up, guys? This is Michael with On the Offside, and today I'm here with Colby and Matt. Unfortunately, Derek couldn't be with us today. Well, you say unfortunately unless you're asking Matt. I'm sure it's actually kind of a blessing, but we won't really say much about that. But Derek couldn't be with us, so it's just going to be us three today. We're just going to do a quick recap on this past weekend. We got a little later start this week than we wanted, but mainly want to talk about this weekend because, Bama won big against Ole Miss. Kiffin went for it on fourth down 100 times. And then Tennessee did what they were supposed to do, and they really surprised me with Missouri, honestly. So, but if you want, we can just start a little bit on Bama there. Matt, what's your feelings on that? So,
all righty. Lane Kiffin, I got my popcorn, man, and it's delicious. Oh, my goodness. That was the game I wanted to see. I was scared going into that game. I knew Ole Miss's offense was lethal. Bama took care of business. I don't necessarily hate on Lane for going for it on fourth down in some of those situations. But, man, every time gifting Alabama's offense that field position, you got to chill. At some point, you got to take the 3 points and just try to keep your team in the game. We always say you're not going to beat Bama with field goals. Well, you're not even going to hang in the game with 0 points. So, but, it is what it is. Bama had a big win, kind of gave Ole Miss some garbage points at the end. I hate that, but doesn't matter. One of the tougher games on the schedule, and it's a W. I'm pretty psyched from this weekend.
Yeah, one of the things you saw about fourth down, the one I seen was like from his own 30, I believe. Went through it on fourth down. It's like at that point, do you kind of give up on your basically say I have no faith in the defense? We're not going to stop Bama at all. I know you got to take some chances to win a game like that, but you're also 12th ranked team in the nation. Got a good offense. Maybe live to fight another down there. Like you said, sometimes you either got to. At that point, you got to punt it away. To me, I don't know. Some questionable calls there for sure. So.
No, I agree with you, and you kind of hit the nail on the head. It shows you don't trust your defense, and not only that, but the Alabama offense and Saban in particular kind of showed their hand early on. They said, we want to dominate the line of scrimmage, where Kiffin brought Bama this high-flying offense, and I think this was kind of Saban's way of saying, listen, I can still win games by running the ball if I want to. And so they had this very physical offensive attack. And so when you're Lane Kiffin and you go for it on fourth down, not only do you say to your defense, I don't trust you, you also say to them, hey, get ready to get back on the field, in bad field position versus a potent Bama offense. And I think Colby was about to say something too before I interrupted him. So
No, you're good. I was just thinking, I wonder if Lane had that strategy going into the game. Just screw it, I'm going to go for it all the time. Punter, just take a break, stay in the locker room. We don't need you. But you're right. What does that say to your defense? And Bama hand the ball off to Robinson 30-plus times. I feel like we hadn't seen that in a while. That's nice. That's when Bama's at their best. You get the running back with 30-plus carries. Obviously, Bryce Young keeps doing his thing. I swear, I feel like he might be one of the best ones y'all have had, last decade, 15 years. He might be the best one I've seen.
Yeah, so, Matt, you got to be happy about that and moving on into the next weekend there. So, and then getting into the Vols, man, they I did not – I knew they could win the game. Like, I knew Missouri was a team they could beat. I think Missouri was picked to win it. I think at least in the odds they were supposed to win. So I knew it was a game that Tennessee could win, but I did not expect the absolute beatdown that they gave. And even their defense showed up too to stop what was a good Missouri offense. But I knew Missouri's defense was rough, but Tennessee played a perfect game, I feel like. So hopefully that boosts momentum getting into like the rest of the season and when it comes down to a bowl game. I know for me, it gave a lot more confidence on possibly, making a bowl game this year. So, and then we got South Carolina coming up this weekend. So I think it's a game obviously we should win. I'll be there, so I hope so. But yeah, overall, I was really impressed with how they played this past weekend.
Yeah. I think the big thing I took away, I mean, obviously, winning an SEC East game, huge. But I think the stability, having Hooker as a quarterback, and now he's your dude. Like, you don't have to go week to week, which one of the three guys is going to start. I feel like right now it's Hooker's job. You don't have to worry about it on a talking point now. And I think that'll be big for the offense, going forward. He doesn't have to look over his shoulder or anything like that, at least for the next little bit. And we'll see how it goes. But, I mean, I think that's big just for the confidence of the team. Who's leading your team out there. And obviously I feel like they should go out and kind of handle business with South Carolina. We'll see. But, I was impressed with Hooker's play, and I hope it continues.
Yeah. Matt, you got anything on that game?
Yeah, you guys, I mean, you covered it. I think Missouri was like a 3 or 3.5 point favorite for that game. But going into it, I think everyone knew UT could win that game. Just like against Pitt, I think Pitt was the better team than UT. Still felt like Tennessee could walk away with the win if they played the game right. With this one, Tennessee pretty much straight up said, we're the better team. You guys had this wrong at a 3-point spread. They embarrassed Missouri. It's a good quality SEC East win. Encouraging for the program. Hopefully, they can build some momentum off of it. The key for this young Tennessee team, especially with all the players they've lost, is just going to be that consistency. So coming off a big win like that, can you prepare for another game you should win this week, but it's still going to be an opponent you have to respect enough to prepare for? Can you follow that up with another good game against South Carolina? So we'll see what happens this week.
So last thing I really have on college football for the as far as the recap, anyways, in this past weekend, the Bucks are 5-0.
Hey,
they didn't exactly look pretty, but they're 5-0. So, like I said, mentioning that, we're going to keep up with the Bucks throughout the year too. So, moving on to the NFL, we all had a terrible Sunday. This so bad. Like Matt's was fully prepared to give us such a hard time because Titans lost to the Jets. It's awful. Regardless if you don't have Julio and AJ, that's tough. Until you see the Saints score, who lose to another winless New York team. And then, I guess I hate to say it, but the Panthers had the best loss. Derek's not here to talk about it against the Cowboys, but they did kind of fight back a little.
Loss,
Loss is a loss. We all three lost. I don't really have a lot to say. I'm hoping the Titans bounce back. Derrick Henry did what he was supposed to do. Our receivers couldn't get open without AJ and Julio, honestly. So they just couldn't get open. Which Jets honestly don't have a terrible defense, but it's because they're having to constantly trying to keep themselves in the game because their offense had struggled so much up until this point. But I told myself, I was like, at some point, I wonder if he'll have a breakout game, and I really hope it's not this one, and it was. But Matt, anything on the Saints or anything on that loss or anything on the Titans?
I know you all are Tennessee Volunteer fans, but I don't know if you actually know how emotionally draining it is to be a New Orleans Saints fan.
I don't know. It's pretty close.
And I mean that. It's this, and I knew coming into this year it was going to be a roller coaster with Jameis at the helm. But it's so frustrating. They go out there and they have a resounding victory against a Patriots team that takes the Bucks down to the wire the next week and should have won the game, honestly. And then they come out and they lose to the New York Giants in overtime, I mean, it's just sad. It's just that playing up and down to your competition that we talk about sometimes, and that's what the Saints are doing. My personal opinion on it, I think getting Michael Thomas back when that happens, which I think is supposed to be here in a couple weeks, I think that will be big. But if I'm Sean Payton, I got to start letting Jameis air the ball out. You cannot rely on Kamara right now to carry this offense. Not without Michael Thomas on the field. You can't do it.
Yep.
Winston has to be able to open up the offensive scheme. He's got a cannon. That's why you chose him over Taysom, was for his passing abilities. Let the dude sling it. Let him air it out. Let him throw picks. Just give me something here.
Well, you're going to have, if you do that, you're going to have some great moments. You're going to have some terrible moments, but you're going to have some great moments. So at this point, if you're not winning, you got to chance it. See what just let the guy go. I mean, maybe keep a little bit, maybe not so much like the Tampa year where you throw 33 interceptions, but let's keep it a little under wraps there a little. But
yeah,
you got to really let him just.
Again, you got Kamara in the backfield. Yeah, with Kamara in the backfield, I think if you utilized your passing game more, Kamara's productivity would skyrocket.
Right.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed is, and I can't remember what it was last week, but Kamara really hasn't been in the pass game, which there was last week, the week before, he didn't have like a target, which, I mean, Kamara's one of the greatest receiving running backs in the game right now. If you want your offense, I mean, just give him the damn ball. I mean, he's going to make stuff. And, sometimes it's not going to be between the tackles. You got to get him out in space and, find a way to give him the ball. He's going to happen.
Right. And then, honestly, I'm cool to just about move on with like the way it went. Does anybody want to do it? Does anybody want to do a take or take a chance at a take for Derek on the Panthers? We got Gilmore coming.
I'll chime in.
Our defense is going. It's going to be that much better.
Yeah. He knows now that Gilmore's coming. Super Bowl's on.
He's not even.
I think if Derek were here, he'd give props to a good Cowboys team, and he'd go on about how the Cowboys are a real NFC contender, which I'm not saying they're not, but they're not yet. Not with the Rams playing how the Rams are playing.
Yeah.
And with the Bucs being the Bucs, they're not there yet. They could be, but they're not there yet. I think Carolina had the ability to win that game. They just didn't get it done. It happens in the NFL. It's a long season, longer this year than last year. So,
like I said, his loss was the least out of the three, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But like I took the high road there. You had your opportunity to really give him a hard time, but we won't give him too hard.
I'm a nice guy. I may not look it, but I'm a nice guy.
Yeah,
understand. But we'll kind of move on. So keep that recap kind of quick. Like I said, it's a little later in the week, so we'll getting ready for this weekend. So it's coming up very, here soon. See what's going to happen. Getting into college football. We'll start with Bama. Matt, they got A&M this weekend. A&M took some damage there when they lost there with Arkansas and everything. But A&M seems to give Bama a tough game sometimes. So what do you think on that one? Or is that a game you're nervous for? Is that a game you're kind of like, meh? I mean, it's an SEC game. It's always going to be, you never know what's going to happen. But.
Right. I'm not really nervous for it. That may just be me being naive. I don't know. I'm not buying into A&M. They had a lot of hype going into the season, and they looked good at the very start, but they've taken a big step back. So I'm more concerned. I'm less concerned about A&M and more concerned about Bama just executing the way they need to execute.
Yeah.
And that's been kind of the resounding thing this year with a young QB and a young defense. You got a couple of young stars on defense. It's just, can you continue the execution that you need to have? If Bama does that, I fully believe the only team in college football that can beat them is the Georgia Bulldogs. And I think Bama can beat Georgia as well. If Bama executes, if Georgia executes, those two teams are the best two teams in the NCAA.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
I want the level of confidence Matt has with some team that I pull for. Like, oh, Bama's going against the top 25 team. I'm not worried. It's just another week. It's cupcake schedule. It's like if teams playing Mercer. Like, you just don't care. Like, I just
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I'm going to eat crow when they lose this week. So
I do get what Colby's saying because it's like, man, you just want to have that confidence. But, like, I should kind of – that gets us into the Tennessee playing South Carolina game. I should have full confidence. But, we announced the blackout jerseys. I'm going to be at the game, so why would it not – what better time to just not do what they need to do, right? But no, I'm pumped for it. I really do hope we come out with a win on that one. I think we should. I don't think there's any reason we should lose to South Carolina, but you just never know sometimes. But and by the way, those jerseys are pretty sick. I like the smoky grays are still my favorite. Pretty sick jerseys though. But yeah, getting into that, Matt, Bama, I think they beat Texas A&M by at least 2 touchdowns. Honestly, 17 points, 3 touchdowns, somewhere around there is where I'm more expected. And that's if it could be even worse. But that's my opinion on that one. Tennessee, I've got after what they played last week, I think if Tennessee plays like they did last week, they easily beat South Carolina.
Yeah.
I don't see South Carolina staying in it if they play like that. South Carolina had they about got beat by Troy. Wish they had a close game with Kentucky, the week before that. Kentucky's been on a high horse here lately, especially with that win against Florida. But, what gets Kentucky is their quarterback's not that great. And someone said, I can't remember who I was talking with, they said that if you score 30 points on Kentucky, you win. They're not going to outscore you. So, South Carolina, I don't know if that was like it's like a fluke game or if, is Kentucky like as good as they are, So with South Carolina, I kind of expect us to be able to hopefully win that game and move on. Like I think if we play like we did last week, we win it easy.
Yeah, and it's going to be a fun setting. Like you mentioned, the blackout jerseys. I remember where I was when they rocked those, the first time around. I guess that's the only time around. Against South Carolina on ESPN, Eric Berry days. So, coming off, a big win against Mizzou, South Carolina's kind of suspect. So, and it's like what I talked about at the start of the show, Hooker kind of looking good, getting some confidence and bringing that stability to the offense. I fully expect them to come out and take care of business. Then again, we're talking about UT, and so fully expect shouldn't be in your vocabulary. But yeah, they should. I don't see a shocker here, but we'll see.
So one game I'd like to talk about you guys, or with you guys, is Iowa and Penn State. It's 3-4. I don't really like to bring up the Big Ten very much, so my opinion, neither one of those teams are going to win it. But Iowa, Penn State, nonetheless, it's a big game, 3-4. I think it would be with that game. Who do you guys think is going to win that game? Honestly,
who cares?
Yeah, really. But I'll be honest. I'm going to take, if I had to pick somebody, I think I'm going to take Penn State.
Okay.
I think Iowa has just showed a little bit of weakness, some struggles here. And I don't know enough about it to really probably dig into it too much. Like I said, people can get mad, but neither one's going to be there in the championship game if you're asking me. So, but I'm going to take Penn State on that game. Honestly, I think they win this weekend. But it being a 3-4 game, got to mention it. So,
yeah, and definitely, it is going to be an interesting game. I feel like Iowa's put out the same team for the last 20 years. Just a bunch of big uglies up front. Blocking. First team to 2 points wins. So I guess that's just Big Ten football. But I'm with you. I guess Penn State a little more electric. That offense from Iowa doesn't excite me at all. It's just ground and pound. But I say Penn State wins it.
Yeah, I always like to play devil's advocate, but I have a text group with other people, and I called Penn State to win it in that one, so I'll stick with my pick in that chat.
it's okay to be
the
right.
The game's at Iowa, is that correct?
I think so, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Game's at Iowa. Yeah, I think Penn State. I think Penn State is the better team. They've had the bigger test, in my opinion. If you look at both teams' wins, Penn State beat Auburn, and then Iowa beat Maryland last week, which, given Iowa wore them out, but I still think Penn State's a little more battle-tested. So I'd look to Penn State to win this, but, I'm not going to be shocked if Iowa does either.
So we all three got Penn State there. Anybody? I wonder what we had to guess what Derek has.
He likes Penn State. He's got family.
I feel like Derek would go for Penn State. Well, he obviously likes the Big Ten.
Yeah.
He we'll say Penn State. I don't know. We didn't get to talk about it with him. So,
he'd
like
probably pick whichever team he thought had the better uniforms.
And yeah.
I think it's what he did for fantasy football. So,
yeah.
Derek, we hope you enjoy this when you watch it, buddy. But so going on to another big game, I guess it's probably people would say the second biggest game of the day if you count that, but probably the bigger game of the day. Georgia and Auburn. I'll be honest with you, Georgia, I think, destroys Auburn this game. I don't think Auburn's going to be able to score much and nothing on that defense. I know it's an SEC showdown, but I think it's going to be – Arkansas is a better team than Auburn. Arkansas didn't score any points on Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking after Auburn struggled this past week, Georgia State, right? God, I don't like talking about Georgia State, but Georgia State.
That was 2 weeks ago.
That was 2 weeks. Okay, yeah. So who did Auburn play? Oh, that was the LSU game this past weekend.
LSU, yeah.
Yeah. So even with that, I just don't see Auburn coming within 24 points of Georgia, to be honest. Credit. I know Matt doesn't want to hear this, but Bo Nix did have a wild play against Georgia for a touchdown there. I'm just saying that was pretty impressive, but that's what Bo Nix does. Impressive one moment, not so impressive the next. So, but yeah, Georgia, my pick, 100%.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into what I was going to talk about. Not that it depends on Bo Nix, but it could be an interesting game because of Bo Nix, or it could just be a bloodbath because of him as well. His play has just fluctuated up and down all season long. Granted, it's been a short season, but still, it seems like every game you don't get. And I don't think Finley's the answer behind him. Georgia on defense is just so dang stout. And they really haven't missed much, losing Daniel, which is shocking because that was my Heisman pick coming in the year. That's looking great. But, I think Georgia just kind of goes out, takes care of business. That front seven is terrifying. And I think they're in Bo Nix's face all night long.
Yeah, man, I could go on a tirade right now about Auburn. I'm going to hold back a little bit. I agree a lot with what Colby said. I see this game going one of two ways. It's either going to be an absolute beatdown by Georgia, and I mean a disgustingly ugly show of force, or Bo Nix is absolutely going to pull magic out of his butt like he has a tendency to do sometimes, and they're going to hang in the game only to lose it late in the game. But to Bo Nix, I mean, the dude is the luckiest bad quarterback that I've ever seen in my life. Hear me out. Hear me when I say this. Bo Nix is an awful quarterback. Bo Nix is Johnny Manziel if Johnny Manziel had no talent.
Wow.
The dude is not good. And if Bo Nix beats Bama this year, so be it. This will be ammunition. You guys can throw this back in my face. I do not and will never think that Bo Nix is a good quarterback.
Okay.
Is he athletic? Yes. Yes, he's crazy strong. He makes magic happen sometimes when he gets in a little space. Is he a good quarterback? No, he's not. And it's I can end the rant right here if you want. I
Keep
can
going.
end it. Let's just talk about Auburn in general. Auburn does this every year where they somehow enter the conversation of us thinking they're actually a good team when they're not. I know they beat Bama a few years recently. I know that. Believe me, I know that. Auburn is not a consistent team. Auburn is a fluky team. Auburn is a team who only won a national championship a few years back because they had probably the most physically gifted quarterback in NCAA history. Gus Malzahn was a joke. Bo Nix is a joke. If Bo Nix beats Bama, I'm going to cry. Cry on camera for everyone to see because I'll be crying for days on end. This quarterback does not deserve to win. He makes magic happen. He's not a good quarterback. He just isn't.
I don't know if Matt was describing both Winston.
Hey, I'll
fair
make
point.
sure that I have my Bo Nix jersey on next weekend. So
I want to go on record saying one more time. I'm not saying Bo Nix is a bad athlete. I've seen him hurt Bama with his legs before and on very rarer occasions with his arm. I do not think he's a good quarterback. I cannot see him starting on an NFL roster. I may eat those words someday. We'll see. But I don't see it happening.
So for all you out there listening, Matt does not, in fact, think Bo Nix is a good quarterback. So, tell us how you feel, Matt. But
if that was too harsh, we can edit some of that out. All right, Bo Nix may be a cool guy, you know. He may be.
There's no editing. We're not talking about his personality and, you know, hey, he said hey to me and shook my hand last weekend. This is about football. So, and honestly, I agree. I don't think Bo Nix is a very good quarterback. So, and he won't be in the NFL. I don't think. He may prove us wrong.
And the thing is, you can get away with a lot more in NCAA than you can the NFL.
Absolutely.
Back to Johnny Manziel.
Back to Jameis Winston.
I mean, same thing.
Yeah.
Back to Jameis Winston. Exactly.
And yeah, and although I'm not as passionate on this aspect, being Matt's a Bama fan, I do agree though to what the main point of what you're saying is. That does make sense. But so I think we all three can agree that Georgia is going to beat Auburn. So that's our predictions on that one. Kind of getting out of college a little bit there. Then and of course we talked about Tennessee and Bama there as well. I think both of those should hopefully win again. So hopefully we'll have a good weekend in college. Moving on, kind of the NFL. God, let's just hope that we have a better week than we did this past one. Titans got the Jags. And every part of me wants to say the Titans should win that football game. I think Brown's going to be back. I think AJ was he practicing this week, right?
I think he's questionable. So
Yeah.
I'm not.
And Julio, I haven't really heard much on.
I don't know.
So I gotta hope that they're back. Derrick Henry's going to have a field day as usual with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, that's what he does. So I'm just hoping that while these injuries are going on, we can just get through this and get a divisional win like we should. My prediction is going to be the Titans to win. They should beat Jacksonville, but they should also beat the Jets. So, and it's NFL. It's a little harder to predict, but I'm going to go with Titans on this one. Hope they think that they should win. They just feed Derrick Henry the ball, and receivers got to get open. I think that we can, even if AJ and Julio aren't available, that we should still be able to move the ball enough and hold Jacksonville enough to where, because Trevor Lawrence at this point against the Bengals, I mean, he played a pretty good game. So, if he starts getting a little momentum and confidence going, I hope that he doesn't show up and just have one of his breakout games,
Yeah.
And then Urban Meyer is going to be so pumped up grinding over there on the sideline if they win this game. So
yeah. Yeah.
Oh goodness.
They beat Tennessee. Urban's not taking the bus home with the team again. He's going to the club for sure.
Well, he's going straight to the club.
Oh goodness.
But no, what you said, accurate. What scares me though is we made Zach Wilson look like Aaron Rodgers last week. Our secondary is non-existent.
No.
It's Swiss cheese. We are talking about Jacksonville though. That gives me a little hope, I suppose. And Urban coming off the week he came off. And it looks like the players aren't really behind him either. So I'm kind of hoping that kind of pushes him down a little bit. I did see where the over was 44, which is shockingly low, I feel like, with how bad our defense is and just how bad they are in general.
Hey, that might be good for DraftKings.
Yeah, and I'll say I feel
this weekend.
Yeah, I'm taking over on that all day long. Just feed Henry. That's it. Feed Henry. Don't turn the ball over. We'll win the game. Defense, just make one or two tackles in the secondary. Be all right. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but I fully expect us to come out and take care of business. Really do.
Yeah, I'd kind of echo that sentiment about feeding Henry for this game. We know who Derrick Henry is. If you give him enough carries, eventually he's going to break one and probably pick someone up by the shoulder pads and throw him a few feet to the left. So just keep giving him carries. Trust it. If he gets off to a slow start, 1-2 yards a carry, don't give up on it. Keep feeding him. He's going to break big plays. He's going to demoralize that defense eventually.
I agree. So getting in to the next game, I guess we all got the Titans winning that one. Saints, Matt, who they got this weekend? I was looking at it earlier.
Washington football team. The
football team. So Saints going into Washington coming off a pretty good win. So and then Saints coming off that loss. What do they got to do? What are your expectations this weekend?
My expectations are the lowest of the low at this point. And I wish I could comfortably predict that game. I'll pick the Saints to win it because they're my team. But at this point, I almost feel like a loss wouldn't even hurt me, just kind of bounce right off me. I'm becoming quickly immune to the Saints losing games that they should win or, we're going to win before a ref didn't decide to call pass interference. Or we're going to win before a Minnesota Miracle happened and a safety decided not to tackle a man. It is what it is. gotta respect Washington football team going into it. This is a team that I think people don't take seriously, but they can still hang in some big games.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked the Saints to win it, but not by much.
Colby, you got a pick on that one?
It's like Matt said. Any Ron Rivera-led team, it's hard to count out. Washington's they're a really interesting team. Heineke is, he's played well. And I don't know if y'all have seen some of, his play. I hate to keep bringing him up, but you're famous. Dude takes chances and throws just ridiculous passes that are 50-50 balls. But Washington's defense has been really disappointing this year. Granted, New Orleans' offense has also been disappointing. So, I think the game depends on that right there. Who wins between Saints' offense and Washington's defense? Who can play a better game? It's. I think it's what's going to ultimately come down to. We thought Washington, that front seven was stacked coming into the year, but they just keep allowing points. I'll go Saints. I think it's going to be a close game. I say 3-point game. I'll stick with the Saints, though.
So I was listening to Pardon My Take, and for Heineke, they came up with like the best analogy of what they thought, that he's like the next Fitzmagic.
I love it. Yeah.
It's exciting. You don't know what's going to happen. But that's Fitzmagic, right? Not like really good, like I don't want to say good enough. It's like he had moments where he's not just a starting quarterback, but a superstar quarterback.
Yeah.
And then he has moments where he's back up at best. At best. So I think Heineke has those potential moments where you don't know who's showing up. So if he shows up as going off like he can do, things going his way, Fitzmagic does the same thing. It's like magic. He just throws it up, and it just happens. So it definitely could go either way. And I just don't want to – and, I'm almost 50-50, but the fact that we've all been agreeing on everything. So I'm just going to take – I hate to do this to you, Matt, but I'm taking the Washington football team. I think after winning like they did, and it's strictly kind of coming off of that too, like how the last weekend went. Which I know in the NFL it's different. Teams bounce back. They're professionals. It's what they do. And anybody can lose on a given weekend. But I think they're going to still roll with Heineke a little bit on some of that magic. And, Fitzmagic, it would happen for, 2-3 games at a time. So, I just look for them to have a game on this one. I think it'll be close. Kind of come down to the wire game, but I think that they'll put just enough pressure on Jameis Winston and kind of shut down a little bit on Kamara some. If they can manage to stop Kamara some, that's going to really make them struggle. So, but I'm just going to go with Washington football team for that pick. And then Panthers going into it. I know Derek's not here to talk about it. Who was it they're playing again? I was looking that up earlier. Philly. Okay. That's tough. You want to say the Panthers defense are tough, man. Don't get me wrong. I think they're tough. And I think they were getting beat by the Cowboys pretty decent. And then they did fight back a little at the end, make that a closer game. Hurts and Devontae Smith is just having a really good year for a rookie. He's the real deal, man. I'll go ahead and brag on him there for you. He's the real deal. So they obviously feel just like this past weekend with the Chiefs, they had potential to put up some points and stuff. I think it kind of depends on how Panthers offense plays. But I think the defense is going to be able to hold Philly enough. I think it'll be close, but I do think Panthers bounce back with a win. I think I could see it going either way, though, but I'm going to pick Panthers on that one. I think the Panthers just need their defense show up, play how they need to do, and then their offense move the ball. Obviously, your defense plays good, offense wins, but, the offense has been a little iffy of it, with McCaffrey and everything, too. They've not really had him, so – but I'm going to pick the Panthers in that one, in a close one.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I think Carolina's just a much better team than Philly. Philly's fun to watch because you got Jalen, like you said. But overall, I just don't think they're a good football team. They're good for fantasy. Hurts can put up top 10 numbers in fantasy week in, week out, but ultimately, it's just there's something missing. Defense isn't that great.
Yeah.
They haven't been giving Sanders the ball hardly at all. And now Carolina's defense, as long as Sam Darnold doesn't go out there and throw 3 or 4 picks, which I don't think he will,
Right.
I feel like Carolina, safely wins this by, at least a touchdown.
Matt?
Yeah. McCaffrey's return, I think, is questionable right now. So obviously that plays a decent sized part in it. But I think even without McCaffrey, I'll take Carolina. Darnold has shown, he's taking care of the ball pretty well this year. I think he's going to have to do more against Philly if McCaffrey is not there. He's going to have to make some big plays, but I think he is capable of making those. It's just hard to buy into Philadelphia pulling an upset. They're just they just can't piece it all together yet. They've got some weapons. They've got some guys with good talent, young guys. They've got some pieces in place. It's just not all quite meshing up. Now, if Jalen Hurts has a really good game, Philly can absolutely win this. But Carolina's got a good defense. So if Philly's going to win this, Jalen Hurts has to hurt them. He really has to do something to go out there and win this game for his team. It's not going to be Devontae. Devontae can help. At the end of the day, Hurts is going to have to win this.
Follow Matt on Twitter for more dad jokes. But I agree. He does. And I think we can all kind of agree on that one. I think Carolina wins that game. So getting kind of wrap it up here, getting towards the end. The question we like to finish on is, what game are you looking most forward to this coming weekend? I'll go ahead and kind of start it. I've been picking college games pretty much every time for this, but I'm going to go to NFL this weekend, and it's Kansas City and the Bills.
Ooh,
big game.
Yeah.
Both teams need it. Kansas City especially needs it. The offense got rolling again on Philadelphia. It's weird seeing Kansas City in the situation they've been. I do think they're still there in playoffs at the end of the year, but that's the game I'm looking for. I think that's going to be the game of the weekend right there, and I kind of feel like the Chiefs are going to win this one. I mean, I know the Bills just put up 40-0, and really, I feel like right now which was against Houston, but I feel like most people are going to pick the Bills. But I don't know why. I could just see Kansas City just edging this one out just a little bit and winning this one at the very end. Maybe not even like the game-winning drive. Just one of those drives where Kansas City gets that first down to run the clock out with something ridiculous, or goes for it on 4th and 1 like they like to do or something. But one of those type of moments, I feel like Kansas City barely squeaks it out in the end for me on that. Yeah. That's the game I'm most looking forward to, so we'll see.
I think that's most people's probably the prediction of the AFC Championship game, at least coming into the season. So obviously that's going to be a good game right there. And the Chiefs, they almost have to win it. I mean, it's not panic mode, but I mean, people got their eyebrows raised. I'm going to go NFL as well, and I picked one of these teams last week as part of my game, but Cards-Niners. I don't know what it is. I mean, the Cardinals are just so dang fun to watch this year. I know it's Kyler, but that offense is just electric. I love watching it week in, week out. And they're undefeated. And the Niners, always typically a solid team. A little bit of controversy with the quarterback. Don't know if Jimmy G's playing. Do they let Trey Lance, take over the reins? It wasn't much of a sample size last week, but he seemed to do pretty decent with his time on the field. I don't know. I just think it's going to be one of those good games. Kyle Shanahan's a heck of a coach, and I like to see just a solid game there. I want to see a high flying with Arizona, Niners defense. So I'm really looking forward to that one.
All right, I'll be the outlier. I'll pick an NCAA game. You all know I'm not a Big 12 fan, but give me the Red River rivalry. We got Texas and Oklahoma both ranked, and the reason I'm excited for this one, Oklahoma is about to catch its first L of the season. Bijan Robinson is going to run all over them. Texas wins by 2 scores, 10 plus.
All right. Hot take. Like,
Hey, I got to agree with you on Texas taking this game, though. Oklahoma's been flirting with it. They've been right there, like, who's going to upset us? Who's going? And I don't even know if you can call that an upset. It's 2 ranked teams, that are. But yeah, I got to agree. Oklahoma's flirting with that losing category.
I think the only way Oklahoma wins this is if it gets to be a shootout. Now, if it does get to be a shootout, Oklahoma's got a decent chance, But if Texas, kind of like we talked about with Bama, Ole Miss, if Texas controls that line of scrimmage and makes the game, their kind of an offensive game, Bijan Robinson rushing for 150 plus, I really like him to win the game. Controlling time of possession is going to be big.
Right. I think that takes it. Derek's not here to really give you his game of the week. Maybe he can comment on this one. So y'all comment as well. Seriously, anybody watching this, any kind of support helps. And we like that interaction as well. Let us know who you think's what's your game of the week, and get your little take on that too. So, but one thing I want to announce, and I can't believe I forgot about it this whole time. I got my first fantasy football win.
Let's go.
I'm in the
Let's
win.
go. Let's go. He's got the dub.
And I didn't even see it coming. I was like, nope, I'm 0-4. Here we go. And I don't know what happened. Literally Monday night, I was like, I was down by 8 points, and I had Fournette and Antonio Brown. They just had to put 8 points together. I was still a little nervous, so I don't want to get excited yet, but I got that first win out of the way. It might be the only win, but I got the first win. So,
Dude,
finally,
Jameis Winston encourages you to eat a W.
That's right. Not going to do that on this podcast, but that's right. But it took me only like 5 weeks. What is this, like our 5th podcast now? So I finally got a win there. So do you guys have anything else you'd like to say about this upcoming weekend?
I think we're good. Just looking forward to it.
Said my piece about Bo Nix and Auburn. I'm good.
Yeah, I might just need to like tag that part of the line. Like, go to this part to see a rage against Auburn. But yeah,
they're gonna beat Alabama this year, and I'm gonna have just all up in my mentions. Yeah. People like this, you.
We need to tag Bo.
We will definitely make something if that happens. So, just to let everybody know, but I don't think it will. But yeah, looking forward for another weekend of football. Just hoping for a good weekend. Think we got some good games going. So as always, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and thank you all so much. So see you guys.